Hello everybody, welcome in. It's Laura from Tenacious Taurus Twin Flame Tarot, and I want to talk about Aries season. So today is the spring equinox. It's also the first day of Aries season. So we have a lot of powerful energies coming through for the collective when it comes to healing our core wound. And we heal through astrology, empathy, and self-forgiveness. So with Aries season getting full swing in motion, I think we've got a lot of powerful energies coming through. We have the sun in Aries. Mercury is going to be going into Aries. Venus and Mars will also be entering into Aries very soon. And all of these energies are going to meet Chiron in Aries, the wounded healer. So I really felt it was imperative that we talked about these energies because Chiron is going to be spending so much time in Aries because there is so much work to do within this sign. So Aries is basically that self-identity wound. So when we're dealing with all of these qualities that Aries brings forward, many of us are finding it very difficult to process. So this is why we've got to take this time to go deep within this identity wound when it comes to our healing. Aries is the very first sign of the zodiac. It is a cardinal sign. It represents leadership energy and the right to be who you are in your true authenticity. So, Aries definitely rules the self, and Chiron is challenging us when it comes to our versions of who we are. So it's all about finding our deeper purpose and our sense of purpose this life. So, Aries is the me sign, and it does represent our individuality, how we express ourselves, how we uniquely assert ourselves in the collective. So it's like this emerging energy from the soil where we've planted these seeds. And now that we're entering into spring, it is this energy of rebirth and new life starting to sprout. So, we always have to choose to do the inner work though. So it is this energy of saying, hey, I'm here and I matter. So, Chiron is asking us to represent everything when it comes to self-expression. Chiron really is deep wounds from within. We all have a Chiron wound from when we were born, which plays into shame, all of our broken pieces, and everything that makes us feel inadequate when it comes to being our authentic self. So, Chiron in Aries really is the greatest collective wound of all because it is the wound of self-identity. So when we don't have a healthy sense of self, then we feel like we don't have the right to exist. So in actuality, this really is the most painful wound to kind of go within and do that deep integration. So you might have a hard time grasping the energies because we are all born with this wound of identity. And then we all have our individual Chiron aspects. So, all of these woundings that we have within really is a part of our genetic makeup from our ancestral lineage, from our parents. And as we grow up, our self-expression is molded and developed around expectations of us from other people. So, we're basically extensions of our parents. And this is why so many of us from childhood on have such a difficult time in acknowledging who we truly are because we have been programmed to be something that our parents molded us to be. So, and I'm hearing that song, oh my God, Easy on Me by Adele. Have a listen to that song because you think about it, as children, we're molded, we're put into these society structures, and we're not really able to feel the world around us in its entirety. So it's kind of like, our parents, unbeknownst to them, they forced us to become something different, something than what we were actually born to be. And this really is incredibly damaging to our sense of self, especially as a young child. So a lot of us in the collective now are entering into like this midlife crisis of trying to figure out who we are, why are we here, what is my purpose? And it really has stifled our sense of individuality when it comes to that core Chiron wound from when we were children. So, the longer we neglect going into healing this wound, the more challenging life can be. I do feel many in the collective are going to be awakening to their true identity, which is likely to create all kinds of forms of psychosis when it comes to our upbringings and when it comes to what we were not allowed to be when it comes to self-expression. So, you know, symptoms of an identity wound, if you find yourself spiraling downwards, you might find yourself saying, hey, I'm a nobody. And it will create this overall feeling of emptiness and, you know, disconnection from the people around you, or, you know, to say to yourself, hey, I am not enough. And then this triggers a negative reaction of feeling like you need to prove yourself to others. And you know, and then we go into these very unhealthy coping mechanisms where we don't feel like we fit in, we don't feel like we have the right to exist, and we just have this desire to be admired and liked by everybody. So, you know, it is also this energy of feeling like you've remained unnoticed your whole life. And this creates a fear when it comes to expressing your opinion and your beliefs. And it creates this very difficult energy when it comes to connecting to your emotional body and your feelings. And then we get into the masking when it comes to all of these traumatic wounds. So in order to, you know, improve this energy, we kind of have to go into this deep hurt. We have to go into this psychology, and we have to understand where we have created self-inflicting woundings. Many of us go towards, you know, abuse of drugs or alcohol, or, you know, some type of medication to numb this feeling of emptiness, creating this spiraling negativity when it comes to this cycle. So how do we overcome this wound? How do we overcome these feelings of worthlessness, unworthiness around our core identity? Because we can't really step into achievement and success and abundance without healing this wound at the core, because we are not here to become something that we are not meant to be. We are here to learn to accept all of these life experiences and to understand it's okay to be exactly who you are, and you don't need approval from anybody. So, you know, with Chiron and Aries, it's all about taking responsibility for your life, for your existence. It's about being present in the now moment and present with your wounding, feeling it, sitting with that pain, sitting with that shame, and despite the fear, the guilt, and the shame, moving beyond those limitations, because we all have the right to exist. We all deserve to be here on planet Earth, and we all have a reason to exist. So, you know, we have to make life the best that we want it to be. So until we go into this core wound, we aren't going to be able to understand our true soul's mission this life, because we were born to be creators, you know, expressors of our divine energy. We were born to develop and share our spiritual gifts, our spiritual talents, and all of our unique skills. And we have so many more talents than you are led to believe. So, you know, I feel a lot of the planets are kind of aligning and energies are colliding in order for us to shine through, to embrace our true self, and to release this pain. We are not here to keep cycling round through painful situations. So I do feel as we enter fully into Aries season, many are going to be coming into this moment of self-realization. And when we reach that point, that is when we go into all of these broken pieces, all of these fragmented pieces of the past, and we put ourselves back together to create a whole entity from within, the way that we want to create our life. So in order to do this, we kind of have to come apart if we're going to put all of these parts back together the way that we want to, in order to release all of this shame, all of this guilt, and really everything that we've gone through up until now is a part of who we are, and it is a part of our story. And we are here to share our story. We are allowed to exist. We are allowed to find that missing key and to step into this higher cosmic order when it comes to this higher meaning of this existence. So I just want to touch base when it comes to some of the core wounds. Chiron being the first core wound, it is a core wounding when it comes to our self-worth, our self-value, our self-identity. Many who have a Chiron wound will feel in low vibration that they have no right to exist, or it will create feelings of feeling like fundamentally wrong, which creates this negative cycle of being overly self-sufficient. if you have a Chiron in Taurus, which I do, my Chiron is in Taurus, my counterpart also has a Chiron in Taurus. So this is a deep core wounding when it comes to neglect. So if you have a Chiron in Taurus, you were likely neglected as a child when it comes to your emotional needs, which creates this deep sense and lack of self-worth. And it creates this lacking feeling of not feeling safe, not feeling solid. And then what happens is many of us will base our value on material possessions. And this creates like this energy of always being vulnerable and not feeling worthy of committed love. Then we go into Gemini. The Chiron in Gemini really is a core wounding when it comes to empathic attunement. So it is a very over-intellectual wound. You likely will find yourself caught in all kinds of self-destructive thought patterns. You're not going to feel seen. You're not going to feel heard. And you're going to have a hard time communicating. It's like a core wound of like communication. And this creates extreme fear around being authentic because you don't even know who you truly are authentically. When we have that Chiron in Cancer, this is a core wound when it comes to abandonment, and it makes you feel very unlovable. It creates all kinds of unresolved grief, and it can also create suicidal ideation. So, you know, a Chiron in Cancer is like a mother wound. Cancer is the mother wound. So that is really hard to kind of work through. If you have a Chiron in Leo, this is a core wounding surrounding creativity. So you're likely overly self-critical, conversely very boastful, which always will lead to a lot of self-sabotage. Leo is a very egoic energy too. If you have a Chiron in Virgo, this is a core wound when it comes to managing your physical health and your day-to-day routines. Virgo is, you know, a very broken energy in that low vibration, and it creates all of these overwhelming feelings of not being able to cope with your emotions, and then you create all of these situations where you neglect self-care and quite likely become a hypochondriac. If you do have a Chiron in Libra, there's this core wounding around personal independence. So it creates this underdeveloped sense of self and extreme codependency, and that is never healthy. With a Chiron in Scorpio, this is a core wound around your experience and your expression of power. So this can create all kinds of psychological paranoia. You can be very insensitive to others, which creates sometimes a very unhealthy sex addiction, and it creates this inability to manage any anger. With a Chiron in Sag, this is a core wounding when it comes to truth and illusion. So it can create this overly self-righteous energy. It can create argumentative people and a very blunt energy. Sag in itself is a very blunt energy. But when this is in that core wounding, this is amplified. With the Chiron in Capricorn, this is a core wounding around responsibility, achievement, and success. So this is a very controlling energy. It can be very greedy and demanding because there's this innate overdeveloped fear of failing in life. So it creates this opportunist energy, always looking for the next shiny thing. With a Chiron in Aquarius, which is my daughter's core wound, my oldest daughter's core wound, this is a wound when it comes to connection within the community. So it creates this overwhelming feeling of disappointment in self, and it can create this disconnection from one's emotional body and creates all kinds of self-destructive behaviors. With a Chiron in Aquarius, it kind of feels like you're invisible, like nobody can see you and nothing matters, like you don't matter to anybody, which is a very painful wound. And you think of Aquarius, that humanitarian energy, so it's like you feel like it doesn't matter what you do, nobody cares what your contribution is. When it comes to a Chiron in Pisces, and I have several clients with a Chiron in Pisces, I always link Pisces energy to the timeline of Christ. So when it comes to this Chiron in Pisces, this is a core wound around self-care and the immaterial world, the spiritual world. So this creates cycles of victimization over and over again, and you can get caught in addictive, codependent habits. And many people with a Chiron in Pisces find the world to be a place of extreme suffering, and they become very overly selfless, which then in turn depletes their energy. So as we kind of enter into Aries season, we're all being asked to go into this belief that we are here for a reason, we are here for a higher purpose, and to be brave enough to take responsibility for everything that we've gone through in life up until now, to be present, to sit in those wounds, to feel that pain, and to release any shame associated to that wound, because what happened to you as a child is never ever your fault. And it's all about, you know, breaking free from all of these feelings of unworthiness and knowing that we can truly heal this core wound of identity, but it's going to take a lot of rigorous work. It's going to take a lot of honesty and a lot of self-reflection in order to accept every piece of you and to kind of put yourself back together the way that you want to be put back together. So I think Aries season is asking us to address this wound, to step into healing once and for all, and to know that we have a right to exist. So, you know, we are all here for a reason, that is for sure. And it's kind of like just going in and transmuting all of these energies of shame, unworthiness, brokenness, because we are always more than adequate to be here, to do what it is that we came here to do. So it does. It takes a lot of self-empathy and a lot of self-forgiveness. But I do feel we're in the precipice of this massive global healing is just around the corner as we kind of all, you know, do this deep inner dive and this deep inner shadow work. So, you know, if you'd like to dig a little bit deeper into that core wound, into these Chiron aspects, and you would like to book a personal reading with me, feel free to check out that description box below, guys. And that's kind of all I wanted to talk about today, very briefly. For the spring equinox and for Aries season. I hope you all have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you all again next time. Thank you.